For several years, some Illinois counties have landed on a list called the Judicial Hellhole list. And it's all because of frivolous lawsuits that seem to get attracted to these particular jurisdictions. Well, latest report is out from the American Tort Reform Association, and joining us is Tiger Joyce from that organization. Good morning, Tiger. Thanks for taking time with us. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks very much for having me on. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And we've seen, of course, several counties that have been on the list before, including Madison County, but also Cook County. Where do Illinois counties land on all of this?
Yeah, well, again, good morning. And unfortunately, one or more counties in Illinois for the 21 years that we've been putting out this report have always been on this report. The change is that Madison and St. Clair counties together, we kind of lump them together, are listed in what we call our dishonorable mention section, which is not ideal, obviously, but not quite the list of the worst of the worst. Regrettably, Cook County, Chicago, is in the top 10. It's number 5 on our, I should say, of our 8 judicial hellholes this year. So, and the reason for that is, if I could sort of point out a couple of overarching points, is that Cook County's become really the ground zero for what we call no injury lawsuits. If you think about it, you go through countless encounters, experiences, professionally, personally, and, for the most part, nothing happens to us, and we just sort of go about our merry way. But regrettably, a new area of litigation involves cases where you don't even have to prove that you've been injured. And as I said, as our report demonstrates, Cook County's become kind of the centerpiece there. But coupled with that is that Illinois as a state, but in particular Cook County, ranked number 6, a U.S. Chamber of Commerce analysis, what we call nuclear verdicts. These are awards in excess of $10 million in the country. And that's another list you don't want to be on. So I think the combination of those two factors are what has pushed Cook County to be in this regrettable ranking that we put out every year.
We're talking with Tiger Joyce. He's with American Tort Reform Association, and Cook County is listed on the list of judicial hellholes. Madison and St. Clair County moving down on the list, but still in that dishonorable mention category. Tiger, what does this mean for taxpayers?
Well, that's really the important question, and I think oftentimes, and I give you credit for asking the question, because usually we hear about these matters and you think, well, this is just some big company will take care of it, or this is more, we'll let the lawyers and the judges sort of figure this out. The truth is that the excesses of the system impact all of us as consumers and as businesses. And in particular, an analysis by the Perriman Group, which is an econometrics firm that does analyses of the impact of the excesses of the civil justice system on us, that each individual in Chicago pays what we call a tort tax of nearly $2,100 per year. You think about that in this inflationary context, that's a lot of money. That's over $8,000 for a family of 4. And it impacts over 178,000 jobs. These are lost. These are jobs that are never created. That's the estimate that we see from a reputable firm. And in terms of just overall impact on the economy, it's over $19 billion per year. So these are real costs. The legal system is run by lawyers and judges. But the reality is that the problems in the system, the failure to address important problems and enact necessary reforms. And regrettably, Illinois the legislature has, if anything, moved in the wrong direction in recent years in this respect. It does impact residents in Cook County and throughout the entire state.
We're talking with Tiger Joyce with American Tort Reform Association. And Tiger, I'm looking at your website here for atra.org, where people can read more about your reports showing that Cook County is costing taxpayers, on top of the property taxes they already have to pay, on top of the sales taxes that are among the highest in the nation in Cook County. They also have this tort tax that they have to pay as well. But looking at your website, you've got reform in the states. And if you click on Illinois, top of that list is the issue of cash bond. And we've seen this, of course, come to a head with the Illinois Supreme Court postponing the implementation of no cash bail in Illinois. You guys suggest reforming that and getting rid of that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the context that we're looking at is in the civil context. Our legal system sort of divided into two major areas. You have the criminal law and, you have the civil justice system, and that deals with the non-criminal activity. Where we have focused on is if you have an excessive award or a verdict that a defendant believes that he or she or the entity can rightfully, successfully appeal, there needs to be a meaningful opportunity to bring a civil appeal. But we're talking about civil litigation here. I think that what's been in the news, certainly I'm not in Illinois, but certainly here in Washington, D.C., about Illinois' decision about the criminal justice system and the cash bond. Those are really two separate matters, and we wouldn't take a position on that one way or the other. But we do think that in the civil litigation arena, which is our focus, that there needs to be a reasonable opportunity for defendants to exercise their right to appeal what we believe are excessive awards.
We're talking with Tiger Joyce, American Tort Reform Association. Appreciate the clarification on the difference there between the, of course, civil and criminal aspects of our court system. But with Cook County being on the list of judicial hellholes, how can that change? How can we, for instance, reverse that course to not just get Cook County off that list, but also Madison and St. Clair counties to not be on that dishonorable mention list?
Well, I think it begins with just it's like a lot of things. It begins with a recognition that there's a problem. That's really the point of our report. If you're a jurisdiction that's on the judicial hellhole list, we hope that this serves as a catalyst for at least raising awareness about these issues. The unfortunate aspect of this is that as I mentioned earlier, the Illinois legislature has, if anything, just been expanding liability. You've had court decisions that work in tandem with that to expand liability, and I think it begins with at least a recognition, number one, that there's a problem, and number two, that this is a problem for everybody in the state. It's not, oftentimes, as I mentioned a moment ago, there's a view that, this is a technical legal matter. The truth is, yes, these are legal issues, but the reality is that, as we discussed, it impacts everybody. It impacts the availability of jobs, the costs, the excesses. We'll never have a civil justice system that is zero cost. That's not the purpose. The idea is to address the abuses, reform the abuses, because that serves the interest of all. Instead, I think too often we see efforts to expand liability without consideration for the impact that it has, not just on businesses, but on consumers and the overall general welfare of a jurisdiction.
Tiger Joyce, American Tort Reform Association, greatly appreciate you taking the time with us this morning and sharing the not greatest of news with our audience. So be safe out there and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Hope to be on talking about improvements going forward.
We shall see. Appreciate it. It is Springfield.